And our first story, Parliament Privileges Committee earlier on Tuesday discharged the Daily Graphic reporter who it banned from reporting proceedings of Parliament.
And this was because of misreporting in the past.
Chairman, I wish to render an unqualified apology to the leadership of Parliament and to the entire House for those publications. After my attention was drawn to the fact that there were mistakes in that story, in those stories I did, I realized I cannot justify the content in those articles or those stories that I did. So I'm very sorry.
That was Mark Anthony Vinoko rendering his apology to the chair of Parliament's Privileges Committee, Ebo Batinodo. The journalist who writes for the Daily Graphic, together with his news editor, Ransford Tete, and director of newspaper, Yao Bodu Ayabuafo, told the committee they admit they erred in their reportage and had subsequently published apologies in the Daily Graphic. Managing Director of the Graphic Communications Group Limited, Ken Ashigbe, said the episode offered a wake-up call for editors to educate journalists on the rules and regulations governing the various arms of government.
For an editor, especially if you edit a paper that can be a 96-page editor, you might not be able to see everything. So the best thing to do is to make sure that you're educating your journalists, on a constant basis. And also you put systems in place that would ensure that, there's cross-checking, multiple cross-checking of facts. That's basically what it is. And that's what we do. But, at the end of the day, nobody is infallible. You cannot be. So you get some of them, a lot of the times you should get it right. Sometimes you might get it wrong.
Chairman of Parliament's Privileges Committee, Ebo Batinodo, discharged the contempt law and his employers and said the committee will meet in camera, after which it would come out with its report. For Joy News, Derek Akosa.
And the Supreme Court will today give judgment on the 3 contempt laws in the Munti FM case. Alessa Nelson, Godwin Akogan, all belonging to the ruling National Democratic Congress, said on the talk show alongside the talk show host Salifu Masi, aka Mugabe, and owners all were found guilty of contempt for threatening to eliminate the judges sitting on the voters' register case. The accused were found guilty for scandalizing the court, defying and lowering the authority of the court, and also bringing the court into disrepute. Right, we still have to remain in the court. And former member of Parliament from Kranza North, Eric Amwating, has been acquitted and discharged over charges he was in possession of a forged document. The former legislator was arrested in August 2014 when he arrived in the country after serving a 10-year jail term in the United States of America for a drug-related offense. Joy News' Joseph Akable was in court and filed this report.
The ruling on Tuesday stated that prosecution failed to prove that the accused had knowledge, direct or implied, that a document in his possession was forged. Presiding Judge Ellen Vivian Amwa said the witnesses introduced by prosecution in the course of trial admitted that the accused was surprised when he was confronted at the airport that his passport was a forged one. The judge also mentioned that the accused during trial told the court that he acquired a passport after applying for it online. Lawyer for Eric Amwating, Charles Posen, said his client feels vindicated by this ruling.
My first reaction basically is first to say that the law has spoken and that we put in a lot of work, and luckily for us, our client has been acquitted and discharged, and the judgment was really deep, and the court took time to evaluate all the evidence that was before it and concluded that Eric Amwating was not guilty and therefore discharged him. Basically, he's always been worried about the fact that he didn't intend that he would come back to Ghana after serving his sentence to come and face another criminal prosecution. But I kept telling him that he will be fine and that he should just let us go through the motions, and then ultimately we've been vindicated today, and that his idea and the fact that he's never known that he's possessed a forged passport has been upheld by the court.
Tuesday's ruling ends the 23-month-old trial. For Joy News, Joseph Akabli.
Former legislator speaking to Evans Mensah on Newsnight says he remains a member of the New Patriotic Party and intends to engage in farming afterwards.
I'm in for farming. I'm doing farming today. I have started sowing this cashew. I have mango farm. Actually, I had about 100 acres of mango farm. They got burnt. My wife replanted it, and I'm going to continue to do that job.
So you're going to farming now?
Yes, sir.
What's your relationship with the New Patriotic Party now?
New Patriotic Party, you see, if you belong to some group, whether you are sick, dead, or alive, you still belong to it. I support my MPP, not because it is a party, but because I want a party that should actually come and help Ghanaians. That's all. That's what I belong to. If any party comes in and the president is from MPP or from NDC, they are all going to help the country, isn't it? If they are going to do that, then if I belong to one party and probably I had a problem, I'll come back. May I say I deny that? I don't deny nothing.
So you're still an active member of the. So you're still an active member of the NPP.
Active member?
I mean, are you an active member of the NPP?
Yes. I had a problem and I came back. That didn't mean that didn't give me any problem. I had my own problem and I did it over somewhere in other country. And I came back to my country, so I belong to them. There's no situation where I have to say that because MPP didn't help me or NDC didn't help me, and so I'm not going to belong to any party. You want some party which should come into power and then help the nation to progress. That's all.
The police are investigating a case of the police officer who shot and killed his two children as well as his in-law and later shot himself in Tema on Monday. Images of the tragedy, which have been widely circulated on social media, have left many in shock as to the motive that would have driven the officer to do such a heinous thing to his own family. The deceased wife has however revealed that Lance Corporal Wilfred Amuzu threatened to kill her sometime last year for bewitching him and holding back his progress. Beatrice Edu has been to the community where the incident happened and has the rest of the story.
It's a very traumatizing situation here at this particular house within Def Traco Estate at Tema Community 25. Others call it New Dowenya. A number of people early this morning trooped to this house trying to catch a glimpse of actually what happened last night. This is an uncompleted house. It is not even painted. It is just plastered. The police CID have been here since very early this morning, and they have not allowed any single person who has nothing to do with the investigation to go into the room. But what we've been told by the police CID and some other police officers who have been inside is that there are pools of blood in this particular house where this incident happened. Remember, 2 children were killed, including the woman who was bathing the youngest of the children. The police CID have come to to take their samples. They say that as of now, they have cordoned up this place. The doors have been locked. Nobody will be allowed in because then someone could tamper with the investigations currently ongoing. I have a neighbor here with me, Felix Kumaho. He actually got to know this family before this unfortunate incident happened yesterday.
1 year. I've known them for a year now. I live down the area, but usually I interact with them daily. She actually, the old woman asked me to look for a place of abode for them. I was back from work last evening around 4 p.m. when I heard the gunshots, 4 gunshots. I didn't think it came from here until this. The lady, the house lady.
And she said she would not allow you in.
Yeah, if you told her that me, I cannot enter the room, so I didn't bother to enter the place.
The widow says the man had threatened to kill her last year. He told me he had been feeling unwell, and he claimed it was me bewitching him. I said no. He insisted and forced me to confess after he slapped me. I realized he was very serious and angry, so I did. He used a knife to stab my palm. He locked me in the room, so I won't step out. I reported to DOFSU, and they asked me to leave the house. He came here yesterday and left after 3 p.m. I was afraid, so I left to a sister's place in a shaman immediately after he left, so we could pass the night there. But I came back and heard about the news. My mom, my children are gone.
Meanwhile, the public relations officer of the Tema police, ASP Juliana Obeng, says investigations have begun.
I think I'd answered this morning, officially we had not put the name of the Lance Corporal who had shot himself and then shot 3 other persons, 2 children, and then his in-law supposed to know. The name of the Lance Corporal is Wilfred Amuzu, who worked with the RDF unit, that's the Rapid Deployment Force of the Tema region, is an operational unit. Yes, we still are saying that investigations are still ongoing. To say that it is not early, I don't agree. It's still early yet for us to give, because we haven't gotten that deep into investigation. It is not about us to be fast about the info that we give, but it is for us to come out real good, as in giving you authentic information at the correct time.
Now, we've spoken with the wife of, the supposed wife of the deceased and the mother of these children, and she told us that in December last year, the man threatened to kill her because he claimed that she was bewitching him, and it was the reason he was not doing well. Are you privy to that information?
Well, this additional information that you have given me, it is not too far away for me to cross-check. I think that from yesterday up until this morning, it's been up and down with the people. Like I said, we welcome any information at all to help us with whatever it is, investigations that we are doing with respect to the suicide and murder case involving the late Lance Corporal Wilfred Amuzu. So, well, yes, I have picked up that information. I would cross-check and then get back to you on that.
What we're also learning is that after this incident, after he threatened to kill her some months ago, she reported this to the police, and what we are also learning is that, not from the woman though, but from elsewhere, is that apparently there had been an order from the hierarchy of the police for this officer to be detained, and this was not done.
Again, that's information to me. I would have to cross-check. You'd have to give me time to do that cross-check and still get back to you on that. Once it's something we have learned, we can always check. We have the records, which I'm not sure will be hidden from me. And so, yes, I will cross-check that. Again, I will take note of this information, because then it's going to come a long way to help us with the investigative process that we have started.
Is there any kind of support that will be given this woman?
when you say support, I don't know what you're saying, but then we are treating the woman like we treat any other woman in that circumstance. And so for now, what we are doing is to make sure that she's given some form of security. Basically, that's what we're doing for now.
No psychological help for her?
I think that we need to speak to her. We are talking to her. Like I said, this is an investigative process. So you move from 1 to 2. You don't just move from 1 and then hit 4 or 5. So yes, as we speak to her, if there's a need for us to put her through that psychological, education or enlightenment, yes, why not? We would willingly do that.
A minibus with registration number GE850909 Tuesday afternoon ran into pedestrians on the Ring Road here in Accra. Well, the incident resulted in a number of injuries to a number of pedestrians. There are also suspicions the vehicle's brakes may have failed. The injured included some passengers on the bus, a motorbike rider, and the driver's mate.
According to eyewitnesses, the bus was traveling over the speed limit from the Kwame Nkrumah Circle towards Labadi, but lost control and veered off the road in an attempt to avoid crashing into other vehicles. The bus then somersaulted and hit the wall of the Paloma Hotel on the Ring Road. This eyewitness tells Joy News a motorbike rider was badly injured, as well as some passengers on board the vehicle.
I was here, and then within a few minutes, the car was on the other lane, and then because he fell brake, so he had to cross to the next lane, which is the other car coming from the left-hand side. So that side there wasn't no traffic, so he wanted to join that lane, and luckily there was another car too coming with top speed, so you have to speed up the car. So in the process of speeding up the car and then branching, so the car had to somersault, and the car went and then hit the wall. But within that instant, he hit some motor rider, and then we have to pick the motor rider first before we save the other people. How many people were in it? Roughly about like 5, in addition to the mate. And then the mate own was very west, and then the motor rider with some other lady inside was very west. But the most actual thing that got me bored, that like as an incident happened, for us as a Ghanaian to save our other colleagues, some were just here watching the accident victims, and it was very bad.
The injured were sent to the 37 military hospital and the police hospital.
And that's it for the news. Please make sure you get interactive because right now you can even watch us on our YouTube channel, Major Online, and through our number on WhatsApp 0560 800,000. You can reach us with a lot more of your comments for the morning. Next, we have to look at what stories there are, front back pages of the newspapers, and Mamari will be joining me as we look at those stories extensively.